Hi, let's see here. Um, okay, it's not starting. Hi, I am Chris Allen. I am the author of the book um, Otherworld, Ecstatic Witchcraft of the Spirits of the Land, and that is uh, due out um, for November 27th. And on Amazon, it'll be out here in the US on December the 1st. So, a little bit about me. I'm a brand new author with Moon Books, and I can't tell you how happy and privileged I am about it, and how I'm excited to work with these folks. And I've, I've had other books published before, and it's always about shamanism or spirituality and or witchcraft and magic and things like that. But today I want to talk about a little about nature shamanism. So, what is nature shamanism? Nature shamanism is basically working with the spirits of the earth, of the plants, of the trees, of animals, the sky, anything that we consider natural. And what makes for nature shamanism little bit different than witchcraft, because in witchcraft, of course, you work with the spirits as well, is in nature shamanism, or all shamanism, when not only do you have a, a relationship with the spirits, you journey to them. So you journey to them in the other world. So, what is the other world? For those of you who are newer to shamanism and magic and spirit communication, so other world comes from the the Celtic and the European countries, and it's just simply is another way of saying the spirit world. Some people say it's the astral plane. Some people say it's a little different from the astral plane, but what I always say, and what I always like to teach all my students, is that it doesn't matter how the spirits or the other world are described in books. It's better to have a very tangible, hands-on experience. And how do you do that? Well, I'm going to teach you a little bit about that today. Um, so, why do we even want to work with the spirits of the earth and the spirits of the other world in the first place? Well, first of all, it's very healing. So the earth, um, I work a lot with the Native American communities, specifically with the Lakota, and my teachers have always taught that the earth is where we get all of our healing. It's where we get all of our medicine, healing from the herbs, and even energetically from animals, the sky, leaves, trees, and all those things. So to work with those spirits is actually very healing. Um, the other thing is that we always hear that if you're feeling a bit off, or you're feeling like a little depressed, or just like you need to find yourself, to go take a walk in for nature. So nature is just naturally balancing. It balances us. It brings us to a back of wholeness, and in energy healing, we like to say to bring back into wholeness, or to bring back into balance, because that's where healing comes from, a place of homeostasis, which means to be in balance. Even the colors of the earth and the plants and trees actually bring us into balance. The color green if we think about the green on the rainbow or the green in the chakra, it's at the halfway point, so it's a very balancing point. In theater, we have something called the green room because it used to be painted green, yeah, because in color therapy, green calms you down. Green um, makes you happy and things like that. So even to look upon nature, and of course your blues, your browns, and things like that. But even to look upon nature, and you never mind the energy work, you never mind the spirits, just to gaze upon nature itself is very healing. You know, how many times have you gone to an ocean or a forest or a lake and just saw it and just said, ah, now this is relaxing, and you didn't even do anything, you know? So, the other thing when it comes to working with the spirits of the earth and the land is that they will strengthen your powers, and they will strengthen your psychic activity, and they will strengthen your magic and things like that. Um, so how do they do that? So how I was always trained through, I also have a background in traditional witchcraft. How I was always trained, it isn't so much about the spell per se, or so much about if you're saying the right words or saying or using the right candles or so forth. I mean, that helps, of course, but it's more important to connect with your environment, with the spirits. So, um, the witchcraft I was trained in, it is about uh, the best you can going out in nature to the parks, to the beaches, to the mountains, the forest, whatever, and connecting to those energies. Because when you connect, um, what the spirits are going to help you. And you know, I've seen it talked about where they say, "Oh, connect to the spirits of the land and draw upon their power." I don't see spirits like that. I don't draw upon their power per se. What I do is I have a relationship with them, and I ask them to empower my ceremonies or my spells or whatever I'm doing. Um, okay, so what type of spirits are we going to work with when we are working with the spirits of the land? So, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different spirits and species of spirits and all those things. But some of the basics, we have plant spirits. And plant spirits are anything from flowers to trees to bushes to every single herb ever. Um, Anything that's a living plant or plant life, um, it has a spirit. So let's talk about that for a second. Like, how do they have a spirit? How does the plants have a spirit? And it's more than just a life force. It's more than just the energy. Like we believe in the tradition I'm from, we believe that every plant, every blade of grass, every tree has an indwelling spirit, just like you do. And when you journey with them and when you communicate with them, you learn to talk to them and have a relationship with them. And the reason that's important is because whenever you are asking a a spirit for help or healing, like say for example, I'm just going to throw it out there. Maybe I use the rosemary bush for healing. So if I just pick the herb and use it in an herbal tea, of course it's healing, absolutely. However, if I work with the spirit of the rosemary bush and have a relationship, then the magic is only going to work stronger. Think about it this way: if you know somebody who asks you to save for like say $20, um, and you give it to them, because you're kind, and they come back a few weeks later and say, "Oh, hey, can you get the $20?" You're like, okay, I don't know about that because I don't have a relationship with you. I don't know you, but um, if you have a relationship with the spirits, and if I have a relationship and have a friendship, then when that person says, "Hey, Chris, can I have $20?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Oh, hey, I'm a little bit short again. Can I have another $20? Sure, here you go. You see the difference between having a relationship with the energies, with the spirits, and some groups call them the powers or whatever. When you have that sort of relationship, it's easier for them. And plus, it feels good because I have to be honest, when I use a plant spirit for healing, um, I don't always use it in a tea or things like that. Sometimes I'll just take a little sprig of it and I'll put it in like a sachet or in my pocket, and it works energetically. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. So so animal spirits as well. So of course, animal spirits. I call it in the animal spirits any mammal, any fish, any bird, any bug, anything. Um, Different traditions have different things. Like so, for example, um, some some traditions have like taboos about working with certain animals, but I always say you use your own experience and guidance and speak with the animal yourself. So, for example, if you follow a great pantheon, then like the owl, is one of the sacred animals of Athena and means wisdom and power and things like that. However, in Lakota and some of the other Native American traditions, the owl can be a messenger of death. So if an owl comes to see you, it can be a very frightening thing because it means someone in your home either uh, could pass away, or it could mean that one of the ancestors has something to say to you. And so different traditions have different things. So when it comes to interpreting animals and animal spirits and working with animals, um, I think books are helpful. In my book, Otherworld, I have a chapter on animal spirits and things like that. But I don't teach you things like, oh, the bear means this and the raven means this. I don't say that. The reason is, first of all, there's already a ton of books out there that say that. The other thing is that it's kind of like dream interpretation. You want to have your own interpretation, and the reason I say that is just like when I talked about a second ago about the different meaning to different cultures of the owl. To the Greeks, it's wisdom and power. To the Lakota, it means death. So it means different things, and that has to do with your upbringing, your culture, um, and your personal experiences. So I say, if you're really curious about working with animals and their powers and how they can heal or, or help you in your magic, then you want to have a relationship with them. And at the end of this, I'm going to save some time because I know we're going to have a question and answer thing. But I want to do a little. Um, I want to teach you how to do a little shamanic journey so that you could, after you watch this video, you can go home and can do this yourself as well. Um, let's see here. So another thing that's common to work with the other world and the spirits of the land are the fairies and elves. So people ask me all the time, what is the difference between a fairy and an elf? So from my research and my experience, it's mostly regional. So so fairies are the fae, are more from Celtic countries, whereas the elves are more from Northern European culture countries. And I say that because in all the research I've done and all the lore that I read and stories, they have a lot of the same features, and they look very similar, and they have some of the same taboos and things like that. And one of the most interesting things that I found, and again, everyone has their own research and experience and things like that, but one of the most interesting things I found is that they were saying that elves are a little bit more trusting to humans that than for them fairies are. I'm not sure why. I would be interested to have conversations with other people who have theories about that. But the fairies and elves, and I kind of lumped them together, not because they're the same people, but just because they're very similar, and in their powers and things and move like that. So why would you have a relationship with the fairies and elves? Well, so again, healing, like they're considered one of the best healers. Also, magic. They're able to teach you a lot of magic and things like that. Um, One of the things I want to really stress, because I want to spend a few minutes and talk about fairies and elves, and I feel like I'm talking very fast too, because I'm used to an audience even on Zoom. I'm used to seeing people, and right now I see myself in the chat, so it's kind of funny. So I think I have a little bit of nervous energy, but anyway, um, so I want to talk a little bit about fairies and elves and stuff. So one of the main things that I really want people to go home with after this is that fairies are not the little teeny tiny sprites, or pixies, or the little fairies that you see on cartoons and things like that. That actually didn't become popularized until the Victorian time period. And I have one of my friends and teachers who really studies the Irish mythology and stuff, and he was saying that the reason that all of a sudden the fairies, who are normally seen as very tall, like for sometimes even taller than people, as very bright and very shining and powerful beings. Um, but he was saying that the reason he found in his research is that, yeah, because in the Victorian times, it's when Christianity was trying to take power away from some of the pagan spirits, like the fairies and the elves, and so they basically shrunk them down to little pixies and things. Um, but anyway, so the fairies and elves, they're seen as very tall, very. I mean, to be honest, the closest I've seen, and I know you're gonna laugh, is like when you see the fairies and or the elves on Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit and things like that. To be honest, that's how I see them, but you may see them completely differently, which is fine. So the little pixies and things like that a lot of people a lot of people talk about in some of the books, especially when they say, "Oh, they steal your keys," or "Oh, they cause mischief." For those are definitely spirits of nature, absolutely, but they're not fairies or elves in the traditional sense. Um, in the Middle Ages, I know that when Christianity really came into power, that's when they refer to all nature spirits of as elves. Like, for example, and the same thing with the fairies. So in the Middle Ages, they didn't distinguish between, oh, this is a fairy, this is the elf, this is a nature spirit, this is a pixie, this is a troll. They basically called all spirits of nature elves. So they lumped them all together. Same thing with the fairies; they lumped them all together. But when you're working with fairy beings or elf beings, they're very statuesque. They're very tall. You know, that's not to say because they're very magical that they do shapeshift, and so they can appear to be small if they so choose. But that's not how they're um, regularly seen. So, so again, why do we work with these beings? Well, because they are going to heal. They are known to really help empower our magic. And they can teach you lots of different types of spells, incantations, also astrology. They can teach you herbalism. They can teach you um, how to work with the nature spirits. They can teach you how to make healing teas and tinctures and potions and things. So they're very good at that. So for you guys who are craftspeople, because I am not, I'm a writer and teacher, and I'm also a massage therapist by day, but I don't craft things. I just don't. However, for those of you who do, then the elves are, are the elves and the fairies are master crafters. So they have the ability to really teach you how to harness and improve your art and improve your skill. So that's also another thing. Oh, if you're a writer, so they can help you with that. They can help you with poetry. So anything that's considered artistic or or creative, then the nature spirits. I'm sorry, I'm getting my head ahead of myself. The elves and the fairies are really good to have a relationship with, and they can teach you how to really master your art. Okay, so let's see here. And again, you want to have a relationship with them. So, how do you have a relationship with the fairies and the elves? How do you start that process? Well, the first thing I say is that you want to give them offerings. You want to be respectful to them and the land. Um, for example, whenever I go to do a ceremony outdoors, I'm going to talk about the outdoors here in a second too. Whenever I have a ritual, or if I'm just walking or going for a walk, I take some trash bags with me, some small, not big, just enough to fit in the car or fit in my backpack, and I'm gonna clean up the area. I'm gonna. I also have gloves. I put on gloves and I pick up soda cans, beer cans, all types of trash and stuff like that. And when you do that, the the fairy beings, are going to start to take, are going to start to pay attention to you. They're going to see your aura. I believe they can see your aura. It's that, hey, you're a spiritual person who cares about the earth, and so that is going to start to build that trust. And when you give offerings, and offerings can be in anything from water to food to flowers to ale to mead to wine, sometimes hard liquor, little cakes, pastries, things like that. Um, the rule I have is that I don't want to pollute the park or the areas. I also want to leave healthy things for the animals, because of one of the teachings I was always taught is sometimes the spirits will shapeshift into an animal, and they may eat the offering, which they should, and you want them to. So leave them water, leave them food, leave them things that won't hurt them if they choose to eat it. Um, okay, so let's see here. I want to talk a little bit about Mother Earth and stuff like that. And let's see here. I want to check something with the chat. Okay, there we go. I need to scroll down more. I'm so used to talking that it's so hard to uh, do two things at once. I think I'm a good multitasker, but when it comes to computers, not so much. So I will try to make sure I'm scrolling down. If you guys have questions as I'm as I'm talking, or you need me to repeat myself, or you need something, just feel free to put it in the comments, and I'm gonna try to be good about making sure I'm scrolling and stuff like that. I'm just peeking at the the chat. Okay, so anyway, I want to talk about Mother Earth, and then we will do a shamanic little journey, and then we'll have some questions and things. Okay, so Mother Earth. So almost every single pagan tradition has a concept of Mother Earth. I know in the Lakota and many of the Native American traditions here in the U.S., they call her Mother Earth. You know, and the Greeks, they have Gaia, which is the same thing. Um, and many other traditions have either some type of a fertility god or goddess, or they have an earthen god or goddess and things like that. So let's talk about why we connect with Mother Earth and things like that. So we all know from our beginning training that the Earth gives us everything that we need. It gives us our food, our water, the air. It gives us a warmth. It gives us shelter. It gives us everything we need, and she provides for us. And this is why we call her our mother. And if you think about it, we as living beings, as all humans, we came from the earth. We were born from the earth itself in evolution, and so if we were actually born from her, and in death, we will uh, be taken back into her. Like some of us are buried, some of us are cremated or whatever. But either way, eventually we will return to the earth. So, what is it about the earth? So, let's go a little bit deeper into that. So, so the earth itself also brings us back into balance. One of the very first magical techniques I ever learned was to breathe energy up from the earth. And it's very simple. You just, if you're sitting or you're standing, you just visualize the heat and the power and the energy of the earth in the core and the mantle, and just visualize it, and you breathe it up into your belly, and just breathe it up. And when you do that, you can also use the energy of the earth for your magic. But it's also good for healing, because if you think about it, we are created from the earth. We're born from the earth, so it only makes sense that the earth can heal us too. So she can heal us in many ways. One of the obvious ways is that what we've already talked about is it through the plant and animal spirits and things like that. Um, through the teas and medicines and things like that, through trees and plants. Another thing is that the earth has a life force. The earth has I talk about in my book Otherworld. I talk about the regenerative force of the earth, and just to, I don't want to give too much away, but just to give you an idea, it's what makes things grow. And so if you can um, you use that in your healing magic, if you can harness that in your ceremonies, then you're going to have a whole lot of good healing energy. So let's talk about what happens if you're disconnected from the earth. So, okay, so let's talk about going outside in this day and age of COVID and quarantine and stuff like that. And I'm not sure, I know different places around the world have different things happening. I know in Chicago, like, I'm allowed to go to a park. I can't go to the beach, but I can I can go to a park or something, as long as I have a face mask on and I'm social distancing. But not not everyone has that. So what do we do? And it's summer. Um, I know for those of you um, on the southern part of the hemisphere that it's winter now, but for us here it's summer, and it's kind of a bummer because I wanted to do the summery things and be in the park and do ceremonies on the beach and do my full moon by the lake. I'm in Chicago, so we have the lake. Um, so what do you do? Well, there's a few things you can do. The first thing I would do personally is I would check out what I can and cannot do in my city or in my state because every place is different. You know. The other thing is that if you have to stay inside, and some of us are differently abled, and so it's not as easy to go traipsing through a park or go traipsing through the beach or the mountains. So what do you do? You can actually create a shrine in your home of nature. It's funny because my partner loves plants, and he has plants everywhere. So I have nature in my house all the time. But you can have a corner of the room, or maybe a designated area, or if you have a front or back porch, or a balcony, or patio, or anything like that, you can put all types of plants and flowers and things. And I'm gonna tell you, uh, the one of the coolest things about doing plants, and I'm not a gardener at all, like I strangely am one of those people, if I buy a plant, it will never die. I don't know why. I can forget to water it, I can forget everything about it, and it still lives. I guess it's my it's my energy, I don't know. But anyway, um, um, so when you're like planting things and putting in, and you're buying plants, say from the plant store or wherever, and you're repotting them and getting your hands in the dirt, it's really balancing. It's really healing. It's really good. It feels nice because we're connecting to the earth. It's very important. Um, but again, have flowers, have plants, and they don't have to be expensive. You can get a good fern for hardly anything, and if you have a few plants, and that's your connection to nature. Um, I also think that through shamanic journeying, you can be in your home and do a shamanic journey and be in the forest or be at the beach or be actually you can be underwater or you can be inside a tree with shamanic journeying. And for those of you who don't know, astral projection and shamanic journeying are pretty much the same thing. It's just leaving your body, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. Um, so what happens if we're disconnected? So I don't know about you guys, but when it was like cold here in Chicago and I couldn't go out and we're under quarantine anyway, you kind of I do have all these plants at home, but I still wanted to go outside, and so I was a little disconnected. So what happens when we're disconnected? Well, what often happens is that we just feel like we're off. We feel like we um, just need something. And it's our attachment to the earth that we need. Um, Sometimes this happens if we're in a quarantine, absolutely. Um, but it also happens if we're not eating enough plants, so enough vegetables. And I am a meat eater. I am not vegetarian, and stuff like that. But to have a good connection to the earth, not only do we have to be a part of the earth and be on the earth, but we have to eat the plants of the earth too. Let's see here. And the other thing that we become disconnected from the earth energies is stress and and not being connected to the ebb and flow of the earth. So what's that mean? Well, honoring our Sabbaths. Um, I follow many different traditions, but I do like the neo-pagan wheel of the year. I do like that. I like my solstices and equinoxes and my full moons and things like that. So I'm trying to follow the ebb and flow of the earth. Um, So that helps. And and again, to reconnect is to be a part of the earth in some way. So like planting and or gardening or going for a walk if you can. Um, and I know what a lot of you have heard that many times before, but this time, what I would like you to do, rather than just being aware of the energies, I would like you to try to become aware of the nature spirits. So when you're working with plants and when you're working with the earth itself, or going for a walk if you're able to, um, as you go, try to be aware. And being aware doesn't necessarily have to mean, oh, I can see spirits, because some people haven't developed that yet. But sometimes it can just mean sensing them with your heart. Just sense with your heart. Because I think in my own psychic evolution, um, before I could see spirits, I could feel them. I knew they were there. And I've talked to many people. A lot of people start that way, and like sometimes it feels like, well, I can't see you, but I think you're there. I know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're there. That's a great place to begin. Okay, so before I run out of time and stuff, I want to do a little um, shamanic journey for you. And if you don't have time to do it now, I'm sure you can watch the video later on and you can do it. Let's see here. I brought my drum. And I have a drum beat for you. So we're gonna do a little drum beat for you, and I'm just gonna walk you through it, okay? And again, if you don't have time to do it in cow, don't worry. You can come back and watch this video later, or you can do a friend request for me, or join my professional page, Chris Allaun. Um, I'm author, teacher, healer. Okay, so close your eyes and take a deep breath. And place yourself in a place of doing something sacred, doing something holy, doing something magical. And breathe in again. Place your hand over your heart. And with your heart, connect with the heart of Mother Earth. Just visualize, or just you have a feeling that your heart is connected to the heart of Mother Earth. And feel the heartbeat. And be connected. And now see yourself. Visualize yourself standing on the earth, and a tunnel deep underground opens up. See yourself jump into the tunnel and go down deep into the earth. Can you find yourself in the home of the goddess Mother Earth herself? To you, what does it look like? What do you see? And then you see Mother Earth standing there before you. Speak with her for a while, a short while. Ask if she has any wisdom for you. Anything you need to know, George, anything that'll help heal you. And then ask her what you can do for her. And I'll give you just a second. take a deep breath and bring yourself back to the physical plane, back to your body. Take another deep breath. Bring your consciousness back. And now place your heart over your hand. Place your hand over your heart again. Then send Mother Earth a beam of healing energy. And we do that because this is the offering we're giving her today. And anytime you work with the spirits of the land, or any spirits, the ancestors, the gods, the fairies, the elves, always give some type of offering. And I know I've been in the park sometimes, and I'm like, and I've been inspired all of a sudden, like, I really want to do a journey with the fairies. And so I'll do something similar that I did, just now. And then I'll speak with them or whatever I'm doing, and then I'll realize, wait, I don't have an offering with me. So I give them healing energy. I give them energy from myself and who I am and stuff like that. Because when you give an offering, in heathenism we say a gift demands a gift, and it isn't so cut and dry as that. It's like, oh, I give you this, you give me this. I mean, it is, but what it actually means is that it's energy exchange. It's a cycle. I send you healing and love, and you send me healing and love. I give you a gift, you give me a gift. You give me power or wisdom or healing, I give you an offering. That's why we do that. And going back to building those relationships and building trust, then that's a great way. And one of the things I want to say is, don't become too caught up on the offering itself, because just like I said, I've gone into the forest and didn't have anything, so I gave him healing energy. But you can give water. You can give. You can do some research and see what the traditional offerings is, because for like fairies and elves, it's things like bread, honey, wine, meat, alcohol, meat sometimes, and things like that. Flowers, but whatever feels appropriate to you is a good offering. And anything you're gonna leave, like outside, because sometimes I'll be indoors and I'll give an offering to the elves indoors, but if I'm inside, I'll make sure that any foods that I leave, that it's okay for the animals to eat and not get sick and things like that. One of the funny thing is, the squirrels here in Chicago are kind of fat sometimes because they dig in the trash. It sounds awful, but it's true. And so you'll see this. It was the funniest thing. I saw this a long time ago. I saw the squirrel run across the sidewalk with a piece of pizza, and it was hilarious. But I say that because ideally, when we leave offerings, we want to make sure it's healthy. So a good offering, birdseed. A good offering, like food for the squirrels, things like that. Okay, so we are almost at about about 44 minutes into it. So I want to see if anyone has any questions about what we talked about today. Here, I don't want to press the wrong button here, but what we talked about today, or any questions about me or the upcoming book. Once again, the upcoming book is called Otherworld. I'm trying to make sure it's in the camera correctly. It's called Otherworld, Ecstatic Witchcraft for the Spirits of the Land. Lucia says that she's seen squirrels with huge slices of pizza too. It's hilarious, and you're thinking, I know it's delicious, but it's probably not the best thing for you. Okay, so I'll have about 15 more minutes, and so I will definitely keep an eye on the chat. But while we're doing that, let's talk about, you know, the subtitle, the um, Ecstatic Witchcraft for the Spirits of the Land, and what that means and why I chose to name the book that way. So, and you know, I keep saying I do a whole lot of traditions, and here, hold on, let's see. So Rachel says, fantastic talk, thank you. Do you connect with the spirits when in the middle of the city or town as opposed to the forest? That's a great question because I live in Chicago proper, so I'm not in the burbs or in the country. I'm in the city. However, I'm lucky because I'm actually far enough downtown that we do have trees and we have the lake and things like that. So I say as long as there's nature, you can connect, right? And so if there's one tree or one bush, but if you think about it, the air we breathe is nature, you know. So as long as you're breathing and connecting with the air, that's still nature, and you can see the sky. Um, like I lived in Manhattan in New York City for a year, and one of the things that was kind of troublesome for me is that it is all concrete and Pleasure in Central Park. So I had to make do. So I would find the only like little parks and trees I could and just make do. But I was also 25 then, and I'm 45 now. Lord, that was 20 years ago. But anyway, um, I try to connect wherever I am and just move. Like I say, if I'm in a high rise downtown, I can still connect with nature because I can shut my eyes and visualize myself there. And as we know, in magical practice, energy follows thought. So what that means is that because I close my eyes and think it, I'm there. Um, and how shamanic journeying or how astral projection works is that as long as you try to smell the air, feel the ground beneath your feet, connect to the energies, see what's around you, and also hear what's around you, like the birds and things like that. Um, then you're going to have a stronger connection. So when I am in the city or in a high rise or wherever I am, and I'm like, oh, I want to connect with the nature spirits, I close my eyes and I see myself there, and I'm like, okay, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? Can I taste anything? So, for example, is there fruit? You know, stuff like that. And yes, you can eat things from the other world or from nature. I know that for some people there is a taboo against eating food from fairies. I eat food from the fairies all the time, but maybe that's why I wrote this a book because I'm too connected. I don't know. I just made that up. but but anyway, let's see. Are there any other questions? Okay, so the subtitle, Ecstatic Witchcraft of the Spirits of the Land. So I'm a very tactile person, so I touch things and I dance. I was a dancer at one point. I'm a massage therapist, so I need to move. And so, ecstatic witchcraft is something I've, I've, uh, I've gravitated towards, and that just simply means like using witchcraft in a shamanic way, or in trance, and things like that. You know, when they say you've reached ecstatic bliss. Um, One of the practices that I talk about in the book is I talked about Seder, and there's a different types of Seder, and there's the one that was popularized by Diana Paxton, and it's the ceremony of the high seat, is where the witch or the heathen sits on elevated seat, and they chant and they sing the sacred songs, and she uh, she goes into the other world for prophecy. The other type of a Seder was popularized by Jan Fries, and I could be mispronouncing her name, his name. I'm not sure. Anyway, Jan talks about the shaking and swaying technique to do sorcery, and so I really like those two aspects of witchcraft about you know getting your um, getting your hands dirty in the dirt and really doing magic with the spirits, with through dancing or shaking or through shamanic journeying in the Fae and stuff like that. So that's why I call it ecstatic witchcraft, because for me, I also enjoy ceremonial magic, and I like it a lot. But right now, my focus is is having a visceral experience, you know. Um, but that's just me, that's what I like and things like that. Okay, so were there any other questions at all? Because I can, I'm a Gemini, so I can sit here and talk the rest of the time about whatever. I'm fine with that. Um, okay, let's see. I'm just going through the chat really quickly. Okay, so so let's talk about and talk, unless I see another question, let's talk about reconnecting to the earth in this time of quarantine. What are we gonna do? Um, First and foremost, if you can, do a journey and shamanically see yourself or visualize yourself in nature, do so. If you have the opportunity to step outside, and sometimes just breathing in the sun, that's really going to help too, because I know a lot of us are feeling very disconnected. We're feeling very like, I'm frustrated, I can't do this, I can't do that. But then we have this fear factor that if we do go outside, we might get sick or something, or we may make someone else sick. And so I know there's a whole lot of anxiety with that. Just like I said, one of the things you can do is get some plants. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. I know when I lived alone, I had aloe plants and ferns and just like very inexpensive things that I could just buy for to have my like home nature shrine and things. And if you like, you can put things like stones in it and crystals and things. If you live in an area that you can find rocks, like small rocks to put in your shrine or crystals and things, um, that'll be a good way to connect. And the other thing is to get as much air, get as much sunlight as you can, um, and and I find that a Zoom and things like that. Okay, so Lucia says, what are the best berry plants? So, okay, there's different schools of thoughts about that. So, I mean, yeah, people ask, well, so a fairy plant is something that the fairies are attracted to, or something that is sacred to the fairies, like hawthorn is sacred to the fairies, and rosemary, and things like that. However, I have found, I'm here in Chicago, and in the U.S., so I don't have hawthorn trees in my backyard. I don't have a backyard, but I don't have hawthorn trees in the park, whatever. So once again, what I would say is you use your intuition. I think a lot of us are trained to ignore our thoughts and intuition, but if you see a plant and you think, oh, that seems like a fairy plant to me, then it probably is a fairy plant, because you have to remember a lot of the Lauren, Lucia, I don't know what country you're from, so um, but I will say a lot of the lore that we have on fairies comes from Britain, and so it's it's a design for plants from Britain. Now, granted, in the U.S. and in Europe and in other countries, I mean, we can sometimes get those plants too. But my biggest thing is, I would say, whatever your heart says. I'm gonna teach you a little trick here. I use this for everything. So you're thinking, is this a good fairy plan? I'm not sure. Open your heart chakra. Connect with the idea of fairies and what that means to you. You know, and then what you're gonna do is just send a beam of of energy to the plant and ask it and say, "Are you a fairy plant?" And see what it says. And if it feels positive, then yes. If it feels no, then not so much. But you have to remember, I have found in my own experience that fairies love all plants, so you're not gonna harm. You're not gonna harm them. But just use your intuition and use that heart technique. Like open up your heart chakra, send a beam of energy to the plant and say, are you a fairy plant? Or would the fairies enjoy your energy? You know, I hope that helps. Okay, let's see. So, any other questions? So we have a few more minutes, just about 3 more minutes here. But okay, another thing I'm just gonna talk about I'm gonna talk about the book until someone shuts me up. Um, but one of my favorite chapters in the Otherworld book is the very last chapter. I talk about dragons, and not so much the logical idea of I know there's this idea sometimes in neo-paganism that if like there's a dragon, if you call if you call the four corners, it's a dragon of air, a dragon of water, or if you, I don't know. I mean, I've seen that it kind of, I don't, um, that isn't the tradition I follow. The dragons that I use are actually energies of the land. And in the book, I talk about how to have a relationship with the dragon energies of the land, so that you can work um, with those particular energies and forces in a real, tangible way. And the book has like healing. Uh, it's got some. It's got some dragon magic in there for healing, for protection, for spellcraft, things like that. But as with anything, as with every single chapter in the book, it's about teaching you how to have a relationship with the dragons, so that you can ask them to help you in your in your magic and things like that. And where it comes from traditional witchcraft. Um, it was so funny because when I was first trained in witchcraft, I didn't really understand that there were like all these different thousands of magical traditions. I just It was called witchcraft, and my teacher would take us to the forest, and we would talk to the fairies, and then we would go to a graveyard and talk to the ancestors, and then we would, like on the a full moon, talk to the gods and the goddess and things like that. So my witchcraft is very, like I say, like very tactile and things like that. And and not that I've also been trained in ceremonial Kabbalah, and like I'm an initiate of the OTO as well. So I do appreciate good like ceremony planets and stuff like that. But the ecstatic aspect of it, and plus, like if you notice through the talk, I have a stutter, and so and I can talk okay. I mean, I'm doing okay, I think, but it isn't about the voice. It isn't about what you say, or if you're saying the right thing, or if you're saying the wrong thing. When you're doing dance or ecstatic witchcraft and moving your body or breathing or opening up your heart, it's about just letting your consciousness sink into a place of the astral and a place of the spirit, and really connecting for that magic. And to me, um, so, for to me, I found I get better results than if I was to like just read someone else's a spell out of a book, you know. Um, were there any other questions before we say goodbye today? I will say I've had so much fun. Um, I, I, I really enjoyed the talk and seeing the chat and everything, and I hope everybody is having a wonderful afternoon in the U.S. or a wonderful evening in the U.K. And don't forget, the book comes out on November the 27th. So pre order now. All right. Thank you so much. And you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.